Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. So once again, the portal is alight, meaning it is once again time to pull some shards. But as usual, we are not pulling without a purpose. We are in the midst of the Lord Entertainer Fabian fusion, and we're going to be pursuing the rare from the Summon Rush. Now, I have to admit, I'm always open when it comes to these kinds of things, that this is definitely the most difficult Summon Rush we've seen in a while. The rare is at 3,500, but that's kind of in the range of normal. Usually it's at 3,000. If it's like a really easy fusion, it's been down at like 2,750, but more or less 4 to 5 sacred is kind of the norm. 6 or 7 is kind of on the higher end, and this is kind of to be somewhat expected because he is a higher quality fusion, dare I say. And so 7 sacreds, it's more expensive than usual, but you could also say that you're spending 7 sacreds towards guaranteeing yourself a very solid champion, so depends how you want to frame it. However, on the flip side, getting the epic is the most expensive we've ever seen thus far. The worst one in the past was 5,500, i.e. 11 sacreds or the equivalent, and this time, this is the first time it's been at 6,000 points, i.e. 12 sacreds or the equivalent. For myself personally, I was already kind of on the fence about saying, do I want to go all the way out here for the higher one just to see if I can make the fusion easier for myself? But it costing 12 sacreds and me being fresh off of Mercy during base rates, there's a progressive chance we'll look at a bit later, but it's not a 2x sacreds or anything like that. So we have the raw odds of 1 in 16 to get a legendary, and I have to invest 12 sacreds for hoping to get a legendary from it, or just getting some epics along the way. And to me, that just doesn't seem like it's worth it. So we are going to be going for the rare here. I have no problems going for the rest of the events in the fusion. I was always open to that possibility, and in fact, that is my default strategy when it comes to fusions. I always minimize the summon rush and maximize the champion chase, just because, again, I do have the luxury of having an abundance of shards, so it makes it easier for me to do whatever champion chase that throw out there. And again, in my case, I do think we're up for 2x ancients, which is a lot easier to do compared to 2x voids and or 2x sacreds. So once again, the plan here is to pull 7 sacreds to get ourselves the rare for the fusion, but along the way we also get a decent amount of gems, good amount of energy, and kind of a rare 6-star speed glyph, so we'll definitely take that. Popping over to the portal, let's take a look at the overall shard count on my account at the moment. We have 662 on the ancients, 231 on the voids, 27 on the primals, and then 68 on the sacreds, which of course we'll be dipping into today. For the selections of the progressive chance events, this should probably surprise no one if you've been watching my shard pool videos for the past few months or so. My pursuit will always be Elva Autumnborn. She's one of my highest priorities because she would be a little bit better, in my opinion, than Pythion when it comes to my Nightmare Hydra team, but also she is like SSS tier for Chimera Clan boss, particularly in a protection set. So she's number 1, although I wouldn't mind having a Duchess. I don't have her either, but this is the debate between number 3 on my list and number 4 on my list, so number 3 wins by default. But if anyone didn't know, the theme here is Revivers. And then for the epics, my Rector Wrath, believe it or not, is only +2 at the moment, so I would love to get at least 1 more copy of her, make her +3, maybe 2, dare I say, if we get greedy here, make her +4, max out her stats, increase her HP most notably because that boosts her heal from her A2. But yeah, those are my selections for this particular summon session. And then if we pop up the Mercy tracker here on the screen, you can see, as I mentioned a bit earlier, I'm fresh off of Mercy from the Sacred POGO event that happened fairly recently. Haven't pulled a single Sacred since then, so we are at 0 out of 12, nowhere near Mercy, as far away as you could possibly be. So we pull 7 sacreds, odds are very low that we even hit a legendary to begin with, but if we do hit one, then there's really only about a 6% chance that that legendary would be Elva, so the odds are stacked against us. So not really expecting anything to come from this particular session. If anything, we're kind of making strides toward building up Mercy towards the next Sacred POGO, but I expect that there's going to be another 2x sacreds before that happens, so we're looking for anything in terms of that. But you never know. Like I always say, you never know. You could get lucky. The 1 in 16 chance could always happen, but my expectation is fairly low. Now, as is tradition around here when it comes to a progressive chance event that has someone desirable in it, we skip the wish list, so we're not looking for anyone if we get a legendary aside from Elva Autumnborn. And then for the epic, basically the exact same thing. I would like Rector Wrath more than anyone else at the moment, just because she has higher rates, but any other duplicate epics for empowerment could also be useful as well. So without further ado, let's dive into the pulls here. We've got barely enough space. We've got a decent amount of cash at the moment, and hopefully we get some pretty, let's say, average luck. And average luck in this case would be getting at least 1 Rector Wrath by maxing out the chances 25x for the epics. So Baroth the Bloodsoaked, starting it off pretty cold. I know he's fairly useful for like the very niche use case of being a little bit of a DPS when it comes to the Cursed City. I have him built up in a shield set, but I have yet to succeed in a floor where he's actually one of the featured champions. By contrast, Taragi the Frog, one of the best like early game, mid game Demon Lord clan boss champions. Excellent passive to place poisons, pairs well with like a Geomancer and stuff like that. But ally protection, he's good for a nested ally protection team, which is where a lot of people start when it comes to Demon Lord clan boss, at least pushing into Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare and beyond. And then to boot, he has decreased attack on the A1, super strong, excellent epic in my opinion. Sacred number 3, another epic. We have the maximum chance now to get Rectored Wrath Woad painted. She got reworked a couple years ago now, and she does have one of the strongest heals in the game, or she heals herself to full, and then half of the surplus goes towards healing everyone else, which can be a ridiculous amount of healing. I run her in a curing set, and she is actually on my Sand Devil team at the moment. Sacred number 4, another epic, as expected, Bone Keeper. I've always heard way in the past that she's like a really hard-hitting single target nuker, sniper, whatever you want to call her, but I've not built her myself, so you'll have to consult other content creators' videos and see if that is the case. Sacred number 5, another epic, not a Rectored Wrath, still Necro-Hunter. I believe he also got buffed a little bit ago, maybe a year or so ago, but yeah, not really seen any play since, and I don't really expect that to change, unfortunately. Sacred number 6, what are we going to get here? Another epic, as expected, Lady Quillen. Rectored Wrath is not looking good here from the 25x. She's more like a Faction Wars Cursed City champion. She could be a pretty decent DPS. She has okay multipliers, gives herself increased attack, gives your team, I should say, increased attack, increased crit damage. She can do a little bit of damage and stuff like that, but nothing crazy. But you know, Faction Wars, if you need a DPS, she can definitely do some work, and Cursed City, again, she can be a little bit of DPS depending on the restrictions. And the final Sacred is going to be a Taurus. No Rectored Wrath Insight, unfortunately, but he is one of the best poison combustion team supports in the game because he has a quad poison ability here. Granted, he reduces his health to 1%, but he puts Unkillable on himself to compensate for that. So just 4 AoE poisons, which could be very easy to set up a poison detonation style composition. So there you have it, 7 Sacreds down the drain, and once again, proof of why I tend to err on the side of caution when it comes to these events and infusions in general. I prefer to go for the minimum just because I expect this to be the result most of the time. If I pull 5 more, the odds are still against me, and I might just end up with 5 more epics, and I still might not even get the Rectored Wrath. And I do have the capacity to do the rest of the events. It might cost, you know, a decent amount of gems to finish out this diver just because of how the events overlap/don't overlap. But I personally would rather spend my silver and or gems as opposed to spending my shards. I just regard them a little bit higher than other people might. So 3,500 as confirmed here, 7 Sacreds done, so we collect the rare. We're all ready for the champion training tournament that starts tomorrow. We collect all of these goodies. I'll save the energy for champion training, but we'll collect the gems and the silver. So that is going to do it for this particular shard pull session. Let me know in the comment section down below how far your plan was to go with this summon rush. Are you stopping at the 7 Sacreds equivalent, or are you going all the way out there to secure the epic? In fairness, you do get 1 legendary tome if you do go out that far, so that might be more enticing to the rest of you. Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content overall on the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.